You might be doing just fine. Your bills are paid. Your calendar's full. Maybe you even feel like you've settled into a version of life that's manageable, familiar. But what if that comfort is quietly outdated? What if the very energy that once kept things steady is now the reason you feel stuck, heavy, or increasingly disconnected, even if you can't explain why? 2026 isn't just another year. In energy terms, it's a fire year stacked on top of a fire cycle. That means pressure, exposure, and acceleration in every direction. And no, this isn't about superstition or predicting disaster. This is about understanding how certain ways of being ways that used to serve you might be out of sync with the speed, clarity, and intensity the world is shifting toward. In the next few minutes, I'm going to walk you through 3 types of people who are most at risk of losing their balance, their direction, or even everything they've worked for, not because they're lazy or wrong, but because they haven't adjusted to the new current. And if you see yourself in one of these patterns, don't panic. Recognition is powerful. You can still shift before things start breaking down. Think of this as a quiet wake-up call. Not a threat, just a spotlight on places you may have overlooked because life was loud, or because you were too busy holding things together for everyone else. But now, it's time to hold yourself together with a different kind of strength, because the fire of 2026 won't punish you. It'll simply burn away what's no longer aligned. The only question is, are you ready to let go before it takes what you weren't willing to release? Part 1, clinging to the old will cost you everything. There's a difference between being stable and being stuck, and most people can't tell when one has quietly turned into the other. Holding on to what's familiar feels like the responsible thing to do. You've spent years, maybe decades, building routines, habits, beliefs that kept your world turning. Maybe it's the same career you've held on to, the same way you manage your day, the same identity you've grown into. There's nothing wrong with that until the world starts changing faster than you do. And that's what's happening now. 2026 isn't coming to shake you for the sake of chaos. It's simply amplifying what's already been shifting underneath. And here's the hard truth. What once kept you grounded might now be the very thing weighing you down. We're in a time where old systems, old expectations are collapsing, not because they failed, but because their season is over. And yet, so many people are still clinging. Not out of ignorance, out of fear, out of loyalty to what once worked, out of exhaustion from trying to keep up. But what if standing still now is the most dangerous thing you could do? Let me make this clear. The people who will suffer most in 2026 are not the unmotivated. They're not the careless. They are the people who are deeply committed to routines that no longer serve them. People who work hard in the wrong direction. People who do the same things, in the same ways, expecting the same results even as the world they built those expectations in has already moved on. There's a kind of quiet grief in letting go of what once made you feel safe. Letting go of an industry you mastered, a belief you were raised with, a rhythm of life that gave you meaning. But fire years like 2026 don't allow for outdated attachments. They don't punish, they purify. They burn away what doesn't grow, and if you're holding on too tightly, you might go down with it. Think about this. When was the last time you really challenged your own routine? Not because something broke, but because you realized it no longer brings life. When did you last question the way you work, the way you spend your time, the relationships you keep close? Not out of crisis, but out of consciousness. Because the old way, the slow, careful, keep your head down way isn't enough anymore. The world is faster now. Not louder, not harsher, just more responsive. And those who refuse to adapt won't just fall behind, they'll wonder why the things that used to work suddenly stopped. There are homes that once thrived now heavy with silence. Businesses that once soared now slowly fading. Not because the people got worse, but because they didn't shift when the world shifted. They kept showing up, kept performing, kept holding it all together without realizing the map they were using no longer matched the terrain. That's what makes this so difficult. Stubbornness rarely looks like rebellion. It looks like responsibility. It sounds like, "This is how I've always done it." It feels like comfort. And yet, under that comfort is the quiet weight of resistance. You're tired, but you can't name why. You're stable, but not growing. You feel safe, but also small. That's how stagnation hides. And when fire comes, it doesn't knock, it consumes. But here's the invitation: not to panic, not to throw everything away, but to look honestly at what parts of your life no longer breathe. What habits are you repeating because they used to work, even if they no longer do? What conversations are you avoiding because they might force you to change? What opportunities have you turned down because that's not how I do things? Fire doesn't ask you to hustle. It asks you to release. To move not just faster, but wiser. To do things not because they're familiar, but because they're aligned. And when you do that, when you stop clinging and start listening, you begin to rise. Quietly, steadily, like smoke caught by the wind. You don't have to become someone else. You don't need to abandon everything you've built. You simply need to ask, is what I'm doing today built for the world I'm living in now, or the one I used to know? That question alone can change everything. There's strength in tradition, but only if that tradition evolves. There's value in experience, but only if it's flexible. And there's wisdom in letting go, not to lose, but to make space for what's next. So if your life feels heavy lately, if your days feel quieter, but not in a peaceful way, pay attention. You might not be broken. You might just be outdated. And there's no shame in that. There's only danger in pretending it's not happening. 2026 will not wait, but it will reward those who choose to respond. You don't need a dramatic reinvention. You need a gentle recalibration. One decision, one shift in mindset, one open door, because the fire isn't coming for the strong or the weak. It's coming for what's rigid. And if you can bend even just a little, you will not only survive, you'll rise. Part 2. The image you built might be your biggest trap. We live in a world that rewards performance. The smiles, the curated homes, the well-edited stories of success and strength. You've probably spent years learning how to show up well, how to keep it all together, how to say the right thing, look the part, stay composed. That's not vanity. That's survival. Especially for women. Especially if you were taught that being strong means being pleasant. That being seen means being flawless. But somewhere along the way, what started as protection became a prison. And now, you might be trapped inside the very image that once kept you safe. Let's be honest, when was the last time you felt fully yourself around other people? Not filtered, not adjusted, not on. Just you. No roles, no edits, no performance. For many, that space doesn't exist anymore. The lines between who you really are and who you've had to become have blurred. You're still functioning, still showing up, still getting things done. But deep down, something feels hollow. That's not failure. That's the cost of too many years lived from the outside. In 2026 doesn't expose that overnight. It simply turns up the heat. It increases the pressure just enough to crack what's been patched, to melt what's been painted over, to reveal what's real and what's not. And here's the truth: anything that's not real won't survive this cycle. That includes relationships built on appearances, careers that were sustained by image, not meaning, emotional identities built on being admired, but never really known. This isn't about social media. It's not about what you post or how you dress. It's about alignment. It's about the quiet gap between how you appear and how you actually feel. And that gap, it grows heavy. It erodes confidence. It distorts peace. It makes you doubt yourself, even in private. And eventually, it makes you tired, not physically, but spiritually. Because pretending is exhausting. Here's the part that's hardest to admit. You may have lost touch with your core, not because you're shallow, but because you've been surviving. You've been raising families, managing households, holding jobs, serving everyone around you. And in doing so, you forgot to keep space for who you are beneath all that. Not the mom, not the wife, not the caretaker, just the woman, the person, the soul. That disconnection is what makes you vulnerable, not weak, but exposed. Because when fire comes, it burns through layers. It reveals the truth beneath the image. And if there's no truth there, if you've only been performing, you may not recognize yourself once the layers fall away. That's why this isn't about judgment. It's about compassion. It's about asking, gently but honestly, What have I built that looks strong but feels empty? What part of me is over-polished, over-edited, over-explained? What have I been hiding not from others, but from myself? You see, fire doesn't destroy everything it touches. It clarifies, it sharpens, it purifies. And that's exactly what 2026 will do. It will bring light where you've been hiding. It will make you face the parts of yourself you've neglected in the name of being enough for everyone else. And if you're willing to be seen, truly seen, then what gets revealed won't shame you. It will free you. Because the opposite of performing isn't exposure, it's connection. When you live aligned with your values, your energy flows without resistance. Your decisions feel clean, your emotions settle. Your relationships become softer, deeper, more real. You no longer have to chase approval or admiration, you become the kind of person who draws it naturally. Living authentically doesn't mean sharing everything. It doesn't mean dropping all boundaries. It means you no longer betray yourself just to be accepted. You no longer twist your voice to match the room. You no longer feel like you're on stage in your own life. Instead, you start to feel like yourself again. And in a world that's increasingly fast, filtered, and loud, that authenticity is your superpower. But here's the catch: you can't fake it. You can't will it into being. You can't just post a quote and call it inner work. Authenticity has to be practiced in private, in how you talk to yourself, in what you allow, in the tiny decisions you make when no one is watching. Do I rest when I'm tired or push through to stay impressive? Do I say what I mean or say what keeps the peace? Do I listen to what I need or what I think others expect? Each of those moments either deepens your alignment or widens the gap. And the wider the gap, the more you'll feel drained even if everything looks fine. You can sense it in people. The ones who sparkle on the outside but seem tired behind their eyes. The ones who can't sit still. The ones who laugh too loudly. The ones who say they're fine too quickly. That's the emotional cost of a life lived behind a mask. And in 2026, those masks won't hold. Not because anyone's attacking you, but because your spirit won't let you keep lying to yourself. So this is your moment. Not to strip everything away, but to return. Quietly, gently, honestly. Who are you underneath the image? What do you believe in when no one's watching? What kind of woman do you want to be when you're no longer trying to impress anyone? Start there. That's your real foundation. That's what the fire will strengthen, not burn. And when the world feels unstable, when everything accelerates, when others fall apart trying to keep up, you'll remain steady. Not because you're perfect, but because you're whole. You might be doing just fine. Your bills are paid. Your calendar's full. Maybe you even feel like you've settled into a version of life that's manageable, familiar. But what if that comfort is quietly outdated? What if the very energy that once kept things steady is now the reason you feel stuck, heavy, or increasingly disconnected, even if you can't explain why? 2026 isn't just another year. In energy terms, it's a fire year stacked on top of a fire cycle. That means pressure, exposure, and acceleration in every direction. And no, this isn't about superstition or predicting disaster. This is about understanding how certain ways of being, ways that used to serve you, might be out of sync with the speed, clarity, and intensity the world is shifting toward. In the next few minutes, I'm going to walk you through 3 types of people who are most at risk of losing their balance, their direction, or even everything they've worked for, not because they're lazy or wrong, but because they haven't adjusted to the new current. And if you see yourself in one of these patterns, don't panic. Recognition is powerful. You can still shift before things start breaking down. Think of this as a quiet wake-up call, not a threat, just a spotlight on places you may have overlooked because life was loud, or because you were too busy holding things together for everyone else. But now, it's time to hold yourself together with a different kind of strength, because the fire of 2026 won't punish you. It'll simply burn away what's no longer aligned. The only question is, are you ready to let go before it takes what you weren't willing to release? Solutions. Number 1. Shift your perspective from holding on to creating anew. Holding on feels safer than reaching forward, especially when life has already handed you its fair share of uncertainty. It's natural to keep doing what worked before, to keep thinking the way that what once brought you stability, recognition, or peace. But what if the very mindset that protected you is now quietly holding you back? The world we're living in today doesn't reward how tightly you can hold on. It rewards how gently you can let go and how wisely you can rebuild. This isn't about throwing everything away. It's about looking at your life with clear eyes and asking, what is no longer alive? What part of me is maintaining instead of creating? In fire cycles like 2026, energy moves fast. It doesn't wait for hesitation. It responds to intention. This means your mindset can no longer be passive. You can't afford to stay in survival mode, repeating what once worked, hoping it will continue to carry you. The truth is, it won't. Not because you failed, but because the world around you is already moving in a new direction. If your inner life isn't keeping up, you'll feel it not in loud ways, but in the small, slow breakdown of clarity, motivation, and joy. There's a difference between preserving and progressing. Preserving asks, how can I hold on to what I have? Progressing asks, how can I grow what I didn't think was possible? The first brings comfort, the second brings aliveness. Ask yourself, are you operating from a fear of loss or from a desire to create? Are you choosing routines that nourish you or repeating habits just because they're familiar? Is your energy being spent maintaining an identity or shaping a future that reflects who you've become? In times of major energetic shifts like this one, even the most successful paths must be revisited. It doesn't matter how well it worked before. If it no longer lights you up, if it no longer fits your values, your pace, or your truth, then it's time to stop asking if it's safe to change and start asking if it's dangerous not. So, how do you begin to shift your perspective? Start by softening the grip. You don't need to dismantle your life overnight, but you do need to stop clinging to it, as if it's the only version that will ever exist. Begin by noticing where you feel drained, where you feel heavy, where your energy no longer flows. Those are the places inviting renewal. Ask yourself, what would it feel like to build again, not from fear, but from freedom? Next, honor your experience, but don't let it harden into limitation. The years you've lived, the things you've survived, the lessons you've learned, they are not weights. They are tools. But if you use those tools only to reinforce old structures, you'll never build something new. Wisdom only becomes power when it's flexible. Otherwise, it becomes a cage of what used to work. Then, lean gently into learning. Yes, even now. Especially now. This isn't just for the young. This is about staying energetically alive. Learning doesn't mean going back to school or mastering tech overnight. It means remaining curious, open, awake. It means asking your grandchildren about the tools they use. It means watching how younger people solve problems, not to copy them, but to observe what your wisdom could add to their speed. It means treating your life like a living thing, not a monument. And most importantly, shift from the mindset of accumulating to the mindset of activating. For years, you may have been taught to measure stability by what you hold, how much money, how much property, how many titles. But now, true stability lives in motion, in your ability to pivot, in your willingness to create value wherever you are, regardless of how the world changes. You may have to let go of certain expectations. You may find that your strength now lies not in certainty, but in presence. In choosing again and again to respond to life instead of resisting it. That's not failure, that's mastery. There will be moments when this shift feels uncomfortable. You might miss the comfort of the old ways. You might grieve what no longer works. But remember, fire doesn't destroy what's real, it reveals it. And every part of you that is alive, true, and rooted in intention will remain. Stronger, clearer, lighter. The most powerful question you can ask yourself right now is this: what part of me is ready to be reborn? Not rebranded, not repackaged. Reborn. That part of you, the one that still dreams, that still wants to contribute, to learn, to evolve, is your guide through this shift. You don't need to have all the answers. You just need to be willing to stop living the same questions. So let this be your turning point. Let this be the moment where you stop clinging and start listening. to your energy, to your timing, to your truth. Not everything old must go, but everything outdated must transform, because in 2026, the world will move. And if you're still standing in place trying to protect what no longer fits, you may find that the life you are trying to hold on to has already moved on without you. But if you shift even slowly, you'll feel it. The lightness, the flow, the return of your own creative pulse. And in that space, you won't just keep up with change, you'll lead it. Number 2, live honestly. Not perfect, but real. There's a quiet kind of fatigue that doesn't come from working too hard, but from living too far away from who you really are. You smile when you don't feel like smiling. You agree when something inside you says no. You dress the part, speak the part, play the part until one day you look around at your life and realize you're not sure who built it. You just know you're tired of holding it together. In a world obsessed with optics, how things look, how things sound, how things appear, it's easy to forget how things feel. And in the rush to be polished, presentable, put together, many of us have lost something far more important than our image, our inner peace. But here's the truth: 2026 won't reward the well-rehearsed. It will reward the real. Fire years like this don't seek perfection. They strip it away. They don't care how well you've managed your image, how much praise you've collected, or how many people think you've got it all figured out. Fire, as energy, reveals. It exposes the parts you've hidden, sometimes even from yourself. That's why now, more than ever, it's time to come home to honesty. Not brutal honesty, not loud declarations or radical transparency. Just quiet, steady alignment between who you are on the inside and who you show the world on the outside. Living honestly doesn't mean telling everyone everything. It doesn't mean oversharing or living without privacy. It means that the version of you walking through the world isn't a performance. It's not a character you've been perfecting. It's you. Whole, imperfect, human. Because the truth is, trying to hold up a perfect image is exhausting. And that exhaustion shows up everywhere. It weighs down your body, fogs your mind, and tightens your chest. It makes relationships feel harder, decisions feel heavier, and joy feel further away. Most people don't even know they're performing. They're just following rules that were handed to them years ago. Be nice. Don't complain. Always look good. Keep the peace. Stay productive. Make it seem like everything's okay. And maybe those rules helped for a while. But at some point, they stopped being guidance and became a mask. Here's the shift: when you start living honestly, you begin to feel lighter, not because life gets easier, but because you stop carrying the weight of pretending. You stop second-guessing every word. You stop shrinking parts of yourself to fit someone else's comfort. You stop hiding your truth under layers of shoulds. And what takes its place is peace. Not the kind of peace that comes from everything being perfect, but the kind that comes from knowing. You don't have to lie to yourself to get through the day. You don't have to keep explaining yourself. You don't have to keep earning your worth. That's the power of honesty. It's not a weapon, it's a shelter. So how do you return to that kind of living? Start small. Choose honesty over habit in the moments that count. When someone asks how you are, tell the truth in a gentle, human way. Not every detail, just enough to be real. When you feel the pull to say yes out of guilt, pause. Ask yourself, am I agreeing out of alignment or out of obligation? When you find yourself dressing, speaking, behaving a certain way, check in. Am I doing this because it reflects me or because it hides me? These are the micro moments where honesty is built, quietly, patiently. And each time you choose it, your energy becomes cleaner, clearer, calmer. But living honestly isn't just about what you say or do. It's about what you honor. Are you honoring your own boundaries, your own needs, your own voice? Or are you constantly adjusting to keep everyone else comfortable? When you live out of alignment, life feels like it's always on edge, like one wrong step will expose the truth you've been trying to cover. But when you live in truth, even if it's messy, even if it's vulnerable, there's nothing to expose. There's nothing to defend. Because nothing's being faked. And here's the beautiful paradox: when you stop trying so hard to look strong, you actually become stronger. When you stop trying to be perfect, you become more powerful. Why? Because energy moves freely through what is real. It gets stuck inside what is false. That's why in fire years, in moments of purification, the people who burn out first aren't the weak, they're the ones holding the most pretense. But those who've been living close to their truth, they become clearer, steadier, more radiant. Authenticity becomes your armor not because it protects you from life, but because it keeps you rooted no matter what life brings. So, if you've been living behind a version of yourself, if you've been shrinking, smiling, or saying what others want to hear just to avoid rocking the boat, this is your invitation to step forward. Not with noise, not with drama, just with truth, because the world doesn't need you to be perfect. It needs you to be present. It needs the version of you that's been buried under expectations, the one that still has dreams, the one that values depth over praise, the one that's quietly ready to stop pretending. This isn't about fixing who you are, it's about remembering. So ask yourself, gently, what am I ready to stop faking? Where do I want to feel real again? What kind of peace might be possible if I no longer needed to perform for it? Start there, with honesty, with humility, with heart, because in 2026, the world will reward what's real, not what's rehearsed. And the most powerful thing you can be is you. Number 3, heal the home one small gesture at a time. You don't have to fix your whole family. You don't have to solve every issue or reopen every old wound. You just have to bring one small moment of warmth into the room and do it consistently. Because sometimes, the most powerful healing doesn't come from big conversations. It comes from being present in a way you haven't been in a long time. The energy of a home isn't created by the furniture, the layout, or even the rituals. It's shaped by how people treat each other, how they listen, how they look at each other across the dinner table, how they sit together in the same room, not because they have to, but because they want to. And in a year like 2026, when fire energy rises and emotions run hotter, the homes that thrive won't be the ones that are the most organized. They'll be the ones that feel the most emotionally safe. If your house has started to feel heavy, distant, or disconnected, you're not alone. That quiet tension where no one argues, but no one really connects either, is more common than you think. And it doesn't mean anyone is failing. It just means the energy has gone stale. In many families, people stop communicating not because they don't care, but because they've forgotten how. They've grown used to the silence. They've learned to move around each other like furniture, predictable, familiar, and emotionally distant. But silence, when left untouched, begins to harden. It turns into assumptions. It turns into emotional distance. And slowly, the home stops being a source of nourishment and starts becoming a space where people simply exist. That's when the soul starts craving something deeper, something softer. That's when you realize your home doesn't need more rules. It needs more warmth. Fire years test the bonds that hold people together. Small irritations become bigger. Old resentments resurface. And if your home lacks the emotional elasticity to stretch and soften, you'll feel it first in the tone of conversations, then in your sleep, your energy, and eventually your sense of peace. Because no matter how successful you are outside, if your home doesn't restore you, life becomes a slow burn. And you may not notice it until you're too tired to do anything about it. So how do you begin to restore that emotional warmth? You start by noticing what's missing, not in terms of behavior, but in energy. When was the last time someone in your house felt seen, not managed, not helped, not corrected, but truly seen? When was the last time you sat down with someone, not to fix anything, not to ask for anything, but just to be with them? These are not luxuries. They're emotional nutrients. Without them, even the strongest families weaken. The good news: it doesn't take a dramatic event to begin healing. It takes a gesture. A cup of tea placed beside your partner without a word. A slow walk with a child who's usually glued to a screen. A hand rested on a shoulder during a quiet moment. These are the things that don't look like healing, but they are. They say, I see you, I care, I'm still here. In energy terms, what you're doing is restoring the flow, replacing the static of unspoken tension with movement, small, kind, meaningful movement. That's how emotional circuits get reconnected. not through fireworks, through flickers. And over time, those flickers build. A short talk becomes a deeper one. A soft tone becomes a habit. A moment of shared stillness becomes a pattern. And slowly, your home begins to shift, not perfectly, not all at once, but undeniably. Some days, you'll want to give up. You'll feel like you're the only one trying. And maybe, for a while, you will be. But energy responds to consistency. Even if no one else changes, your energy will, and that alone will change the way you experience your home. You'll feel more grounded, less reactive, more open. And from that space, you can lead not by force, but by example. Healing a home isn't about changing people. It's about shifting the field they live in. And that field is shaped by how you show up, especially when no one asks you to. Especially when it feels like it's not working. Because it is. Quietly. Gently, slowly. It is. And here's the truth you need to remember. A healthy home doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be loud. It doesn't even have to be emotionally deep every single day. It just has to be safe. Emotionally safe. Energetically soft. A place where you can breathe, not hold your breath. A place where you can lay down your mask. A place where love moves not just through words, but through presence. So let this be the year you bring that presence back, not in grand gestures, but in real, daily ones. Start small. Stay consistent. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Create small, imperfect ones that still carry meaning. Because healing doesn't need drama. It needs devotion. And the home that heals in 2026 will not only protect your peace, it will amplify your energy. It will become your anchor, your rest, your quiet source of strength, one gesture at a time. Final. If you've made it to this point, thank you for your time, for your attention, but most of all, for your willingness to look within. We've talked about fire not as a metaphor for destruction, but as a mirror, a clarifying force, the kind of energy that doesn't punish but purifies. And 2026 is full of it. It doesn't come to attack you. It comes to show you what's strong, what's real, and what's quietly out of alignment. We've explored 3 energy patterns that often go unnoticed: the habit of clinging to what's familiar even when it no longer fits, the pressure of performing a perfect version of yourself until you forget who you truly are, and the silence inside homes that once held warmth but now feel like people passing in and out of rooms without ever really seeing each other. And then we turn to healing. Not big solutions. Not overnight change. Just small, deliberate shifts, choosing creation over control. Choosing truth over performance. Choosing presence over perfection. These aren't ideas, they're daily practices. And when done consistently, they don't just change your energy. They change your life. I know some of what we touched on may have felt personal. Maybe even raw. Maybe you saw yourself more than you expected to. And that's okay. Because recognition is power. It means you're already ahead of the fire, not behind it. It means your spirit is listening. And when your spirit listens, transformation doesn't feel forced. It feels inevitable. So wherever you are right now, whether you're feeling strong and ready, or tender and unsure, I just want to say this: you are not behind. You are not broken. You are not too late. Energy shifts like this are not about becoming someone new. They're about returning to someone true. And as we enter this next cycle together, may you walk gently with yourself, with others, with your space. May your home soften. May your energy clear. And may the fire ahead not consume you, but refine you. Thank you for being here. I see you. I honor you. And I'm wishing you a year of grounded clarity and quiet, powerful light. Until next time, take care.